create a schedule for yourself. So when you get home, you're going to do homework. When you do this, you're going to do this. Have that schedule set up so that when it comes time to start school, you're good to go. You may have a study hall on A days. You may not have anything on B days. So please just make sure that you have that schedule set up. I'm going to say it again, sleep. Get a sleep cycle down. Try to see how much your body needs. Go to bed at a decent hour. Let your body wake up.
Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of the Ninth Grade Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Dutchko. The goal of this podcast is to give you the story of the ninth grade students here at Emmaus High School through the people that live it daily, the students and the staff. We will attempt to touch on real issues and stories that ninth grade students face in order to prepare them to know that ninth grade counts. On today's episode, we have ninth grade assistant principal, Mr. Fortier, with us, who is going to give us a rundown on all things regarding freshman orientation, which is on Monday, August 16th. So this episode is being posted on Friday, August 13th, but you can access it at any point after this to get information about orientation and the visitations that you can make throughout the time before school starts on August 30th. So hopefully you get some great information here from Mr. Fortier and that you can preview what's going to be at the orientation next week. We reference a lot of previous episodes in this podcast with Mr. Fortier. So if you want to go back and check those all out, just go to ninthgradeexperience.com and you can do keyword searches. Like if you want to find the other episodes with Mr. Fortier, you just hit the search and search his last name. Or if you're looking for things on our school counselors with Mrs. Demchek and Mr. McInerney, you can search them up, or any topic that you want to learn more about here as you're getting ready for your ninth grade school year. So we hope you enjoy today's episode. Here is Mr. Fortier to give us information about our upcoming freshman orientation. All right, welcome everybody to this episode of the Ninth Grade Experience Podcast. We are here, both people that are on today are in the school building. One of the first times we're here. We're not together though, but we're in the same building. And we are getting ready for freshman orientation that's going to be on Monday, August 16th. So I went straight to the source to get all the latest information. So today we have the ninth grade assistant principal back for his third appearance on the podcast, Mr. Fortier. So Mr. Fortier, how's it going this morning?
It's going. It's an early morning, but we're figuring it out. There's a lot going on here at the building. The custodial staff is working really hard to get the building looking great so that when orientation happens on Monday, that we are looking really good. People are going to be able to come in, get their good tours, get some information that they need, and get a couple other things. Start the year, very hopeful.
So it's funny you say that, because I was looking, even our offices or rooms are located straight down the hallway, but I saw there's caution tape up in the hallway by the ninth grade principal's office. So I couldn't even go up there to do this in person if I wanted to. I'd have to, be like Mission Impossible and go through the ropes and all the other stuff. So we brought Mr. Fortier on today to kind of set the stage for us at the beginning of the school year here. If you want to learn more about Mr. Fortier's backstory, he's been on the podcast twice before, like we said at the top. He was on season 2, episode 30. When we brought him on at the end of his first year as the ninth grade assistant principal, where we learned a little bit more about him. And that was at the end of the first pandemic year. Then last year, we had him on in season 3, episode 3, to talk about the upcoming school year. And we all know what that turned into last year. So now we got him back on for the third time, talking about the third school year that's now been impacted by COVID-19, and hopefully the last one as we move forward here. So we're here to talk about orientation, and then we have some questions from our class of 2025 Facebook group to ask about what's going on here as we lead up to the beginning of the school year here. So Mr. Fortier, why don't you give us the quick rundown? I know there's stuff on the website and there were letters sent out to parents about orientation, but we start orientation on Monday, August 16th at 8 a.m. So why don't you run the parents and students through what that's going to look like on that day?
So obviously we're trying to be as conscientious about what has been going on with COVID. And fortunately, we've had some vaccines out there. I continue to encourage people to be safe, to do what they can to be safe and have a safe environment here. But one thing that we're doing to try to help that out is to reduce year we're doing it a little differently. We're kind of doing four sessions, one at 8 o'clock, and that's going to be students in the first part of the alphabet, first quarter of the alphabet. The second session is going to be the second quarter of the alphabet, third and the fourth. I did put that out on the website. I had some things up, but my internet was a little unstable, so I tried to close a lot of things out so that I wouldn't kind of lag at all. But basically, when a parent and student, we're trying to limit it to two, a parent and a student coming in, so that we can keep our numbers down. Our auditorium max capacity is about 750 people. We're trying to keep it so that we have about 200 students, 200 parents, so we can kind of keep it at about half. People can spread out if they're uncomfortable being close. That is going to be a presentation with myself, Mr. McInerney, and Mrs. Demchek, the school counselors for ninth grade. A couple other people and guests are going to be there just to talk about some things, some norms that are going to be maybe a little different from middle school coming into high school. We're going to talk about things specific to ninth grade, and how basically that ninth grade is where everything starts. You really have to be focused in ninth grade. You have to get your homework done. You have to be in class. You have to be aware. You have to listen to your teachers, because all of your grades really build upon themselves to get you to that final finish line, which is your senior year in graduation. So it's really important that that happens. And again, a lot of information that are going to come out there. The presentation that's going to happen, one of the four presentations, is going to be about 45 minutes to an hour long. Everybody's going to be in there. Normally we split up and students are in there for a little part, and then they move off to do a tour. This year is going to be different, because this year they're going to come in, they're going to sit with their parents, they're going to go through the whole presentation. Once the presentation's finished, and then they're going to move off to a tour. And those tours are going to be guided by a student ambassador. I'm trying to keep it as small as possible. We're still in the process of finalizing how many ambassadors we have, which will determine how many students per ambassador there are. I'm trying to keep it under 10 students so that the group is as small as possible. I'd like to have it as close to 5 students per ambassador as possible, but again, it depends on how many ambassadors are available that day. Once they do the tour, they're going to end at an activity fair, which is going to be in our cafeteria. The other thing that's going to happen right across the hallway in our second cafeteria is Chromebooks. Freshmen, please, 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 please bring your Chromebooks with you. Bring your charger. Make sure you have it, because we have a brand new device for you, a new Chromebook that you're going to be able to switch out, the one that you've been using since 6th grade. You're going to be able to switch it out, and you're going to get a brand new Chromebook that you're going to be able to use for the rest of your high school time. So please make sure you bring it. You'll be going right from the activities fair over to check out and return your Chromebook, get the new Chromebook. Then once that's done, you basically can leave. You'll be finished with your orientation time. That may include another half hour, may include another 45 minutes. So if you started at 8 o'clock, you might be out by 9:45. That'll be great. That'll mean that we're basically finishing our other presentation, and then you'll be able to go about your way. If for some reason you forget your Chromebook at home, the tech staff will still be in the cafeteria until about 2 o'clock that day. Don't worry if you don't bring it, or you forget it, or you can't come back. We will also have a time in the beginning of the school year for you to be able to exchange your Chromebook for a newer one. Your Chromebook will still work. The old Chromebook will still work in the building. We're going to have a little bit of tech support here on the first day of school. That's August 30th, for you to be able to come in case connectivity isn't working. It'll be during first block. So a lot of things I know are going on, but that guided tour will be with an ambassador, and it's not going to be, hey, this is your class, then your class, then your next class. It's going to kind of be like, hey, this is where study halls usually are. Here is the world language hallway. If you have a Spanish class, or you have a French class, Latin, German, this is where it's going to be. Here's your the math hallway. This is where your math class is. Science, social studies, and so forth. That tour is going to show you a lot of different areas in the building, not just specifically where your tour is. It's not going to be individualized. The next couple of days, and I know I may be kind of giving a little bit more information and kind of like wasting some of the questions that you might have, Mr. Stutchko, but the next couple of days on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we are going to have an open building. The student ambassadors that kind of walked you around, they're going to be located in various places around the building. What they're going to be set up for is if you want to come back in on any one of those days, you're able to come back in, you're able to walk the building, and you're able to ask them, hey, where is this room? Hey, where is this room? And they'll be able to point you in the right direction. And we'll have enough ambassadors in the building to be able to kind of guide you around. I'm excited to say, I know I put this out through a school messenger, a message email that went out to your parents, that we are able to extend 2 additional days the following week on the 24th and the 26th of August to allow students to be able to come in again. Unfortunately, at that point, it's just going to be an open building. There's not going to be as much support in our building to be able to show you around or point you in the right direction. So it's really important that you get in here on Monday, hear what I have to say, what Mrs. Demchek and Mr. McInerney have to say. Dr. Kieris is definitely going to make a presence to kind of introduce herself, who is our principal. And once that happened, then you'll get a tour, then you'll be able to come in, especially if you're a little anxious about where do I go from here to here to here. You'll be able to do that a little bit more as we work through. I know that there's been a lot of questions about schedules. We are working really hard to try to get schedules done so that we can give you guys something on the 16th. I can't promise anything right now. We're trying, but you will have availability to your schedule as of the week of the 23rd. So if you can't get back in during a tour this coming week, try to get back in on the 24th and 26th, and then you can kind of find your way around. And this is not only open to freshmen, it's open to all students from Tuesday, the 17th until the 26th. Again, just check out the times on the website on what's going to happen and when it is. Some of them are morning times. We tried to make some flexibility for some parents who can't get their kids in during the times of the daytime. So I know Tuesday is from 9 to 12. Wednesday is a later night. I think it's 4 to 7. Thursday is a 2 to 5 p.m. And then Friday is going to be another 9 to 12. And then again, the 24th and 26th is going to be 4:30 to 7:30. So I'm hoping that this information helps. I may have bumped a bunch of your questions, Mr. Stutchko, but at least I just provided a whole bunch of information.
So we got a lot of the information that people were asking questions about and those kinds of things as well too, all throughout the things that you just said, but a lot of great information there. And normally the orientation day is not the day where they do like individual guided tours. They started a couple of years ago doing the second set of days where people could come in, and that's where they get the more individualized tours. But even if you don't come back for the individualized tours, if you know where the English classes are, it's going to be in that general area. If you're going to, like you were saying, if you have a language, it's going to be in that general area. So just when you're touring around the building and you just kind of take notice of where everything is, once you find some of the main landmarks, it'll be easier to kind of figure out where you are, like where the locker commons are. If are students going to be allowed to use lockers this year? Are we going back to that?
That is a fantastic question. Yes, we're going to continue doing the same thing we did last year, where there's going to be a Google form, and that Google form is out there. We're not assigning every student a locker. Most students don't use them, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't. If you are somebody who likes to store your stuff in a locker, we will accommodate that. All you have to do is to fill out a Google form, and that'll be expressed on the first week. So if you need it, all you do is fill out that form. It comes up to my office if you're in 9th grade. My administrative assistant, Ms. Minardi, she will then assign you a locker. If you have any kind of preference and you put that in, make sure that you just come by and stop and talk to her, because we're going to have a specific pool of lockers we can assign. However, if there's something in one of the other assigned pods for 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, if there's something else somewhere, then what we're going to do is we'll be able to take a locker from one of those other places. Normally we have maybe 30% of our students ask for a locker, and every year we've had to reassign the lockers over and over and over and redo the combinations every single year. What I will tell you is if you had a locker last year, it's going to most likely be the same locker that you had last year with the same exact combination. So if that's what you had, you're going to most likely be able to go right to your locker, open it up, boom, it's yours. But if you're a brand new freshman, obviously you're not going to have one, and you just need to request one if that's what you want. If you find you're not using it, that's fine. When it comes to the next year afterwards, you'll have to do it every year. Request a locker. Just don't request the locker. And then we'll end up saying, okay, cool, you don't want the locker anymore, and we'll reassign it. We'll get the combination changed so that someone else can use it if they need it. Yeah, I think there was something else that you were saying that I wanted to comment on, but I don't remember what it was. So maybe it'll come up in the other questions here. So I'm going to actually, since you went through and did a lot of the talking about the actual day, I'm going to go to some of the questions that we had on the Facebook group, and I think they'll kind of tie everything together here. But again, all the information you said is on the website, the times, the alphabetical breakdown, those kinds of things. Before we ask the questions, will the presentation that is provided during the orientation be available for people to view afterwards? Yeah, I'm going to actually have one of the presentations recorded. So once it's recorded, then I'm going to post it out on the website, the 9th grade orientation website. So that'll be set up. You'll be able to see everything that everyone else is. Miss Keebler from our TV production studio she's not going to be there, but she has assigned a couple students to be able to help us out. It's fantastic because that gives them the ability to be able to record something. And it also gives us a historical piece where they're getting exactly what I'm putting out there, not a pre-recorded thing that doesn't really necessarily give every piece of information that I'm putting out in the presentation. So I'm excited about that, to be able to have it recorded, to be able to have it put out there. So if for some reason someone is on vacation, there's a conflict that a student can't get there because their parent is working, anything like that, we completely understand that. We're working through it as much as possible to make sure that students have access to it moving forward. So really important that if you were not able to be there on that day, that you watch that recording, because there's going to be a lot of information there that is going to be very helpful to all students and parents as we move forward to this new school year. All right. So that would be some good watching there before the first day of school, if you do miss it, or if you're here and you just want to watch it again, you want a refresher on some of the stuff. So let's get to some of the questions. So the first question was about clubs and activities. You did mention that after the students go through the tour, before they get the new Chromebooks, which is breaking news. I didn't know they were getting new Chromebooks, so that's awesome. So before they get their new Chromebooks, but after they do the guided tour, there'll be sort of like a club and activity fair that's in the big cafeteria. Can you just give people a little bit of information about what will be there and what they can do? Because they were interested about signing up for clubs, or just figuring out about all the different 80 organizations we have here at the high school they can get involved with. So there's obviously about 80, because if you include all the sports and things like that in there, we have about 50 plus clubs in our building, and they're ever growing. I know you, Mr. Stutko, sponsored a couple brand new clubs last year. A couple other people did, especially during a pandemic. It was nice to be able to have teachers to still want more things out there, to be able to, still build those clubs, build that relationship in the building, build those activities so students can get involved. I also would say that the other piece that we have is our website. So our activities and clubs website is really important for people to check out, because not all of the clubs are able to join us on that day. It is an ever-growing list. I can't list off every single club that's going to be there, but there is a ever-growing list that's going there. I think we have about 15 of our 50 plus clubs that are going to be there. I don't want to give any specific shout outs, because again, I don't want to missay anything or misspeak, but a lot of clubs are going to be already there. Again, it's ever growing, because I just got 2 more emails today saying, hey, are we able to come to the club fair? Is it still happening? What time is it? They will be set up around 8 o'clock in the cafeteria, and they will go until 1 o'clock. So even if you have that last time slot from 11 to 12, you'll still have an additional hour to be able to check out the club fair, get your Chromebook exchanged, and that Chromebook piece, as I stated before, will go to 2 p.m. So if there's a backlog or anything like that, or you're in one of the early time frames and you forgot your Chromebook and you're able to leave and come back and exchange it, you're going to be able to do that. I think I answered that question. Yep. Was there anything I missed?
Nope. And then the shameless plug for season 3, episode 4, we did an episode with Mr. Spengler, who's the assistant athletic director, detailing all the clubs and activities as well. And we like to highlight throughout the course of the school year on our podcast here some of the clubs and activities. So that's another way to keep up to date. And the morning announcements. I believe that ETV will be back in a full force this year to be able to give all the information on when clubs were and all that kind of stuff. All right. So the next question had to deal with the first day of school schedule. So in the past, if they have older siblings that have been through the school, we used to do it. At one point, it was freshmen only came in, and then it was a half day where the freshmen were here by themselves for half of the day. And this year it's going to be something different because we're adjusting to a new schedule this year. So why don't you tell everybody about what the first day of school is going to look like?
So I want to first start off with the challenges, because 2 years ago, not last year, but the year before, when we weren't in any kind of a pandemic, we were at a 9-period schedule. So every student would be in every single one of their classes from period 1 through period 9, would leave. That made it easier for us to have the freshmen here beginning of the day, do that orientation piece that we normally would do during that time frame, and then allow them to be able to kind of roam the building without anybody else. With the block schedule, it makes it a little bit more difficult for us to do that. So we felt like the best way to support the students this year was to give a little bit more time. So normally we have 2 or 3 years ago, we had 5 minutes per class. This year, first week, we're going to bump that up to 10 minutes. And this kind of leads me into what I wanted to talk about earlier. So thank you, Mr. Suchko, for this question. One of the things, I had a really good email the other day from one of our administrative assistants. She saw something on Facebook, a parent posted it, and it kind of gets to the point where I know there's a lot of anxiety about coming to a new building. It always happens, whether you're going from from 5th grade to 6th grade, you're joining middle school. If you're going from being at home to kindergarten or 1st grade, wherever you start, if you're going from 8th grade to 9th grade, you're joining a brand new building. There's always anxiety about where am I going to get lost? How I'm going to get lost. I'm not going to be able to find where I'm going. I'm going to, whatever. One thing that you always should do is ask questions. You need to be comfortable anywhere you are. It's a life skill. If I don't know what I'm doing, I ask a question to someone who has been here. So I'm going to just give you a quick thing. I started in May of 2018, May, end of the school year. I was an assistant principal. I'm supposed to, quote unquote, and I'm putting the air quotes for anybody who's listening and not seeing this recorded, I'm supposed to know everything about this building. I jump in on the 18th of May. All of the emergencies on my first week, and I don't even want to talk about it because there were a lot. I had to rush to each of those emergencies, and I didn't know a single place of where I was going. So what did I do? I saw an adult out in the hallway, and I said, where is this room? Where am I going? And they pointed me in that direction so that I could get there quickly. That is going to be a huge life skill for any student that's coming in this building. Ask questions. If you're going from first block to second block and you don't know where you're going, ask the teacher. Hey, I'm going to this room. Can you help me? I'm going to this room. Can you help me? And then it might be across the building. So halfway through it, you can ask another adult who will be out in the hallway. We're going to ask the teachers to be out in the hallways so that, especially during that first week, make sure they're out there. They're going to have 10 minutes to be able to get from point A to point B. You will be able to do it. There are going to be a bunch of kids in the hallway. You're just going to have to take your time. I promise within the first 2 weeks, you're going to be able to do it. One of the things that was online was something about computer games. So anyone who's playing a computer game, if you get stuck, what do? if you're a cheater like I am, because I play some computer games, I go online, I look at a YouTube video, I get help from somebody else because I'm stuck. And that's what I do. And I know a lot of I have a 12-year-old, I have a 9-year-old, they have friends, and some of them actually play some video games. And I see them watching YouTube videos of people playing the games that they're playing. That's kind of the thing that's there. You have to learn that skill. How do you manage from going from one place to another? If you're in a challenging spot, what do you do? Do you just give up? Do you stand there? No, don't do that. Ask a question, ask a teacher, ask an adult, ask someone who is reliable. You're going to be in a position as freshmen where you're going to be in a building that you've never been before. Well, guess what? Most of the students, 70% of 3,000, okay, we had about 1,000, between 700 and 1,000 students that were actively coming to school last year. Those other students, the other 2,000 kids, 66%, barely showed up, barely came to this building. They were remote the whole entire year. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to need help. So don't be afraid to ask those questions.
And I think that's important to know too, that, even last year's freshmen were barely in the building, if any at all. I got questions about, and you already addressed it, like freshmen that were never in the building last year wanted to come in and tour the building. So they have the opportunity to do that on Tuesday through Friday, and then the following week as well too. So check the website for all of those, and we'll link that in the show notes here as well too. And the fact that we're all dealing with a brand new schedule. So it is different than last year. And we're going to do an episode probably as when the school year starts, focusing on what that schedule is going to be like, a short one, just to kind of detail what that's going to look like and different stuff. And there are going to be parts of the schedule we're not going to implement until a couple of weeks into the school year. So everyone's kind of comfortable with the schedule as it is too. And we'll talk about that when we do our schedule episode about all the different stuff that's happening here at the school. So the questions we did about the clubs, so we know that. The first day schedule, so everyone's here all day for the first day, and we're just going to do school as normal, starting day one, full day. We have the other grade levels to tour. We talked about the guided tours. The last thing, and we'll end on this, is that somebody, and I think you kind of talked about this one too, was the concern about being the small fish in the big pond. And I know that you talked about the anxiety of coming back. We have to remember that there are students that are going to be entering the school building that haven't been in a school building since, March of their 7th grade school year. I know that's, kind of crazy to think about, but
it's a long time.
What if, as we're kind of getting ready to start the school year, I know there's been discussions about how we're going to help those students and kind of, work with students like that, but, what should they be doing between, the time they come to orientation and that first day of school, and then even those first couple of weeks to kind of ease their way back into it, or, get ready to be back into the building, everyone fingers crossed, 5 days, normal air quotes, school day, all that stuff. Because right now as we're recording this, there is no plan to not be full 5-day in school. So
not that I'm aware of.
Yep. So what recommendation do you have for those students that are feeling like the small fish in the big pond and coming back to school for the first time and maybe a long time?
Well, the first thing I would say, and it's going to be a weird thing for me to say, is get some sleep. Work on how much sleep you're getting. Think about that. Sleep is such a fantastic mental health aid. If you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, start planning that bedtime. Start planning on going to bed a little earlier than what you're doing, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm probably going to bed a lot later than what I'm going to when I have to be here in the building. And I'm here at 6:30, 6:45 every single day during the school year. Right now, I'm getting a little lazy. I'm coming in about 7 o'clock, 7:30, because I don't need to be here at 6:45. But you're going to see my bright and shiny face out there directing traffic for the parent pickup, because that's kind of what I do. I'm here early so that I can be a support to not only the staff, but the students. And part of my job is the safety and security, which includes the traffic and drop off. So really, really important that we get that sleep so that you're rested and prepared. Look over some of the things, some of the notes. If you're concerned about math, if you're concerned about English, if you're concerned about any science or anything like that, check over some of the notes and things that you've done from previous years, whether or not you had a a notebook or something like that. I know there's plenty of online materials. Khan Academy is a really good one, especially if you for math, for science. I think they have a bunch of different subjects. I was a math teacher before this, so I always kind of go back to the math piece. But they have a lot of different practices you can do, either if you're going, the course you're going into, whether it's algebra 1, you're coming from a pre-algebra class going to an algebra 1, or you're going to algebra 2, you can do the previous subject there. But really just think when you get in here, listen, absorb. I would say also read the student handbook. That's a big one. That student handbook is going to be basically, and I don't want to say anything there, that's going to be like your direction as you move forward through this building. What are your responsibilities? What does the discipline code say? Because that's another piece. You want to make sure that you understand, whether it's with use of cell phones, use of headphones, your dress code, things along those lines, so that when you get here, you're not going to get into any kind of mess or trouble with me as the disciplinarian for 9th grade. That's the last thing that I want to do, is nitpick on that. The other piece, just get that sleep so that when you wake up, woke up and fresh. You have time now to get your sleep cycle to where it needs to be. It takes weeks for you to get that circadian rhythm, and I'm using a bunch of big words here, I apologize, but there's circadian rhythm where it needs to be so you can go to bed at a decent time. And then create a schedule for yourself. So when you get home, you're going to do homework. When you do this, you're going to do this. Have that schedule set up so that when it comes time to start school, you're good to go. You may have a study hall on A days. You may not have anything on B days. So please just make sure that you have that schedule set up. I'm going to say it again, sleep. Get a sleep cycle down. Try to see how much your body needs. Go to bed at a decent hour. Let your body wake up. Don't set an alarm clock. You're going to hear this on orientation day. There's a video that I'm going to be playing that's going to allow you to be able to kind of get something from an expert who's been dealing with this from Eulenberg. She has been studying this for the past 15 years. She's worked with our district, and it's really good advice. I'm going to take her up on it, and I'm going to do the same kind of thing, especially on the weekends, trying to see when my body wakes me up. And see how much time, how many hours of sleep I need so that I can be a productive human and not be a grumpy pants. That's really where you need to be, so that you can be focused. You can actually do your best in school and outside of school.
So those are all great tips and great advice, and I'm sure they'll be reinforced next Monday at the orientation and all throughout too. So thanks a lot to Mr. Fortier for joining us here. So there's a couple different ways that we'll be reaching out. I know that this year they're starting a freshman specific newsletter. I believe you can sign up for information on that. Am I right on that one?
There is going to be a couple different newsletters. The principal's newsletter, there's going to be a spot in that newsletter that is going to be about specifically from my office, from the freshman side. So look for the principal's newsletter. We're also going to be doing I believe a Hornet Happenings. So that's really, that piece right there is going to really be a celebration of all the wonderful things that our students have. So if there's something there, obviously post it out. We have a couple of people in our district that are really focusing on our social media presence and monitoring that social media presence. So if there's something awesome that's going on, not only in sports, but something, I don't know how many times a student is involved in a Boy Scouts or a scouting event. We don't necessarily know about it, but it's a great thing. Or something else, whether it's through a church, it's through a club, it's through anything that's outside of school, something that they do outside of school that we don't necessarily know about it. We want to celebrate that with you. Share it with us, whether it's with me, the assistant principal. You want to send it to the principal. You want to send it out via social media. I know that there's a Facebook parents page as well. I like to see the positive. We see a lot of negative all the time. We do our best to try to combat it and to push us back towards a positive. There's negative out there and it has to be corrected, and we're working on that as well. But please share some positive stuff with us. We like to see it. We like to share it. We like to put out the good vibes as much as possible.
And obviously that's what we focus on here on the podcast as well too. So we'd like to hear about it and feature you in a 9th grade podcast episode. And from looking at it, we've only had Mr. Fortier on twice, and we might need to make him a more regular contributor. I have some ideas for what we might do during the school year, some shorter mini bursts of Mr. Fortier throughout the school year. So thanks a lot for joining us today. And then obviously, if you have questions, you can reach out to him through email. It's all on the website under the 9th grade orientation website as well too. So, and you'll see him bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on Monday morning and every morning when school starts out there at the drop-off. So he'll be the tall man with the bow tie if you're not watching and you've never seen Mr. Fortier. So, all right. So thanks a lot, Mr. Fortier, for joining us.
No problem, Mr. Stuchko. Everyone stay safe, stay healthy, and looking forward to seeing you guys on the 16th and on the 30th.